Archery Unleashed, and I want to welcome you to my home gym. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the major issues that archers, especially women, may encounter in terms of injury to shoulders, as well as building a good fitness routine. So as women, we have a little bit of a disadvantage. I hate to say it, but genetically we do have a little bit less strength when it comes to upper body strength naturally than our male counterparts. What does that mean for us in archery? It just means sometimes we have to work a little bit harder. We are also a little bit more prone to shoulder injuries. One thing that I notice is that when I get on forums, I see a lot of women saying, I had to drop my draw weight because of a shoulder injury over and over again. And there are things that we can do to help protect ourselves. And then I also want to give you some information about things that you can do to build that shoulder complex. Your rotator cuff is going to be a huge important factor in preventing any kind of injury. I want to emphasize the importance of warming up before you get started. So to get started, you want to roll your shoulders. You can do some big arm circles. And then if you are injured or you've experienced an injury, it is so vitally important that you give yourself time to rest and heal before you jump back in. I had to wait a full 2 weeks before I could start back in, and it was painful. To go 2 weeks without drawing my bow was painful in an emotional way, but my shoulders were also painful in a physical way. But I can't stress enough how important it was for me to give myself that recovery time so that I didn't re-injure or increase the injury that I was already dealing with in my shoulders. So make sure that you give yourself a good warm-up. You'll feel silly, that's okay. If you're in a group of people, if you're going out to shoot, please do this. Warm up those shoulder joints, because I would rather look silly than end up with an injury that prevented me from doing something that I love. My background is actually in exercise science. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in exercise science, and I worked as a clinical exercise specialist for about 6 years before eventually having my kids. And since then, my exercise routine has been mixed. I am a religious cardio junkie, but I am not as good at focusing on my muscular strength as I should be. And because of that, when I started looking for a new bow this last year, my upper body strength was not what I wanted it to be. And I ended up going into a local shop where the owner had me shoot something I shouldn't have shot. He had me pulling more weight than I should have been drawing, and he had me draw it repeatedly over and over and over and over again. And I could feel the pain in my shoulders, but I wanted so badly to find a new bow and try everything I could. And part of me kind of had a pride issue where I didn't want to disappoint him. And I was kind of feeling like a weakling not being able to pull something like that over and over. And by the end of the day, I was in horrific pain to the point where I actually injured both of my shoulders, both my draw arm and my holding arm, and I ended up having to take 2 full weeks off. So obviously I was devastated. I would be lying if I said that I didn't cry the entire way home, and probably several times in the next few days because of that. And so because of that, I would like to share some of my knowledge about never overbow. That means don't draw more than you are comfortable drawing. If it hurts, if it is too much for you, do not do it. Just start out lower and you'll be amazed at how fast your draw weight increases. Secondly, build your muscular strength, have patience with yourself, and take the time to focus on good form and don't let people push you around. So let's get into some of the really simple things that you can do to build your strength. One of the number one things that I think is really important and that I see people frequently not doing is that they only build the muscle group that is actually active during your draw cycle, which are these back shoulder muscles. It's called your rhomboid. is the key muscle that you should be using if you're using correct form to pull back. But you have to balance. So we have opposing muscle groups, right? So you have a bicep, but your opposing muscle on your arm is your tricep. If you only build your bicep muscle, you're gonna end up with injury, even though you're working hard, because these two muscles are meant to work together. And in archery, a lot of people don't realize that you are repeatedly doing a singular motion, pulling back with your shoulder, but as you release, you don't have that back motion that you would typically get in an exercise. So if I'm doing a bicep curl, I'm using my bicep, but when I release my curl, I'm also engaging this tricep muscle. So if all we do is take a exercise band and repeatedly pull as if we're drawing, that's going to increase our draw weight. It's a good exercise. I'm going to show you how to do that, but you also have to focus on your front musculature as well. So like I mentioned, if you go into an archery shop, they will probably have several pieces of exercise equipment that you can use to do this exercise. But bands are phenomenal for so many exercises that we do that are archery related, and you don't need a specialized piece of equipment. This, for just demonstration's sake, is just a 10-pound band. I have a package of multiple weights, and you can increase as you go up. And all you have to do is place your band through the palm of your hand. Right, so I have this 10-pound band. I am going to place it in my bow hand across my palm the way that I would hold my bow. You are going to have to use some musculature to hold this in place. They do make, like I said, a piece of exercise equipment that actually has kind of a handle that fits in your hand and feels much like your bow actually would. But this works just as well. So you will hold the way that you normally would with your bow, and then you just pull back into position. And you can do that over and over again. That's a really great exercise for that back rhomboid muscle. Make sure that you're balancing each side. So don't just do your right side if you are drawing with your right hand. Make sure that you are doing equal exercises on both sides. Otherwise, you'll be more prone to injury as well. Another exercise that I really like for that rhomboid muscle, super easy. You just hold your band in each hand straight out in front of you, and you use those muscles to pull back. And then you come forward, and then you pull back. And you can actually start closer together. It will give you more of a challenge if you want to start closer together, and you just pull back. Really focus on using those back muscles just like you do when you are drawing your bow. This is going to be kind of funny, but another great one you can do is lay flat down on your stomach and just lift your arms up. You can incorporate weights, but focus on using those back muscles. You can also bring it to the side so your elbows are at a 90-degree angle, and you can raise that way too. Again, if you need more of a challenge, you can incorporate weights. I also hate push-ups, but I love planks. So if you feel like you hate push-ups too, planking is also a really great exercise to help build your core strength as well as your arm strength. You need a lot of core strength. So I try to incorporate any kind of planks as often as possible. It doesn't have to be long, but you just get in a push-up position and hold. And I like to hold for a minute if I can. You can also incorporate bringing your leg forward in a mountain climber, which also adds an element of difficulty. All right, so let's move on to the rotator cuff muscles. You want to build stability in your entire shoulder joint. The shoulder joint has the most mobility of pretty much any joint in our body, and therefore It has potential for great strength, but it also puts it very susceptible to injury. Most often we focus on our deltoid muscle. That's the big main shoulder muscle group that you have right here. And those are great, but you also want to engage the smaller stabilizing muscles that help aid that shoulder in its rotation and its ability to have such a large range of mobility. In order to do that, we want smaller motions. The smaller motions engage those smaller muscle groups. So you can do arm circles here, and you can gradually get bigger and bigger. I also recommend doing arm circles out to the side because you're engaging a different set of those stabilizer muscles. Obviously, you also want to build those deltoid muscles. So arm raises are great, both directions, forward and to the side. I tend to be one, since I'm a cardio junkie, I don't necessarily love doing single exercises. So I like to incorporate multiple exercises or multiple muscle groups in each exercise I choose to do so that I can move through that strength training portion more quickly. Let me show you some of my favorites. So a kettlebell can be a fantastic resource, especially for working on shoulder upper body strength. I love it for so many reasons, and I love that it is a dynamic exercise tool versus a static. So typically when you are working with a kettlebell, it's not just a singular motion. It can be, but you incorporate swings, which activate multiple muscle groups, which I feel like is getting a bigger bang for your buck. So one of my favorites with a kettlebell for our posterior deltoids and some of our other shoulder muscles is just a squat swing. And so you just squat down and swing up, squat down and swing up. You want to pay close attention to both the top and the bottom of your exercise and do it in a controlled way. Okay? Kettlebells are great for doing rows, which engage multiple muscle groups in your shoulder and your arm. This is called an upright row. You can do it double-handed, or you can do it single and alternate. Another multi-range exercise that I like to do is a bow draw with a lunge. So you're engaging both your upper body and your lower body. So you take a kettlebell and you place it next to your forward foot on the interior side. And I like to make a solid connection with my knee up through my shoulder. So I've got a pretty straight line there. And then I just pull back as if I would with my draw of my bow. And I will do 5 to 10 of these. And then once I get done with those 10, I set this down and I pull up and I lunge. Woo! Lunge. And I'll do 10 lunges and then I'll switch feet. So this foot will be my front foot. I will connect with my elbow and then I will do my draws on the opposite side. And when I finish that, I'll do my lunges. Oh, I'm breathing hard. So one of my other favorite exercises to do, I do it at the gym when I'm there. I don't actually have a bar here. Christmas present maybe. But it's one of my favorite that engages your entire body, that helps build leg, core, and arm strength, but also focuses in on these shoulder deltoids, is with a bar in your hand, you keep your legs just slightly bent, not locked, but straight with a slight give to them. And you're gonna grab your bar and you're gonna lift straight up and then you're gonna come up in a row, and then you're gonna flip the bar in front of you, push up over your head, sit back on your shoulder blades, and dip into a squat. And then you repeat that over and over. That's a really great engaging exercise for your entire body. So another simple exercise that we can do is rotating out. So you just start at a perpendicular angle with your elbow and rotate out, and then rotate back to center. Rotate out and back to center. Another option too, to build that rhomboid muscle in your back, get a good solid stance, lean forward, engage your core. In every exercise that you do, you want to engage your core, pull that belly button into your back so that you have the support that you need in those stomach muscles. Lean forward and raise. This is called a lateral raise. That's a really great option. Okay, so we also talked about the importance of balance in every activity. So we did this band stretch towards the back, but we also need to do an exercise for our pectoral section as well. That's probably a little far. Start here and pull forward. So that the band will go straight across your back. And so you do the same amount of repetitions going this direction as you do going the opposite direction. Now we talked about the importance of engaging those small stabilizer muscles. Anything that you do is rotational is gonna help. So I like to just incorporate a little bit of an upward, outward rotation, and then back to the front. You can do it both arms at the same time, or you can do single, whatever you're comfortable with. The goal with any type of muscle strengthening activity is to do what you're comfortable with. So let's talk sets and reps. A lot of women feel nervous about weightlifting and weight training in general because they're afraid that they will get bulky. Now, you can get bulky, but you have to work really hard as a woman to get bulky. Primarily, the key to building a lean, strong upper body musculature is to do the appropriate number of sets and reps. Let's say that we're doing upright rows. So the number of reps is how many times we're gonna do this activity in this given set. So the key, I would say, is to do 10 to 15 reps per set. So I'm gonna do this 10 to 15 times, and then you can take a break and do another activity, another exercise in between so you don't get a break, or you can just take a couple minutes or a 30-second break and then do another set. So the 10 times you do it is your reps, and then the number of sets is how many times you do that activity 10 times. Does that make sense? So I would say you want to keep every exercise that you're doing at about 10 to 15 reps and 2 to 3 sets. You want to pick a weight that is challenging, but you're not maxing out to the point where you can't finish those last few reps of your last set. A archery related, but not necessarily shoulder related category is the weight vest. This is my absolute favorite piece of exercise equipment. I have used it for years and years. Like I said, I'm a cardio junkie, so that's probably why I love this thing. But it's a neoprene material, and it is absolutely fantastic for upping your intensity level, no matter what you're doing. So this is a 10-pound pack. It straps in the front. I will run with this. In fact, I typically run with this. I hike with this. Obviously 10 pounds is not gonna be close to packing a deer out of the woods, but this is gonna help you when you are day-to-day training. This is also a fantastic addition to anything lower body or core that you're working on. It's gonna add an added level of intensity and build those muscles stronger and faster. And I'm always all about stronger and faster. So if you can, I would invest in a good quality weight vest. If you're interested in upping your game a little bit, I could probably go on for days and days and list thousands and thousands of exercises that will help strengthen this upper shoulder complex. But you can Google that, right? The thing that I really want to get across is take care of your shoulders. Focus on building not only the strength of your big muscle groups, but also those stabilizer muscles. We're going into the off season of archery. And as we go into off season, we need to maintain that shoulder and upper body strength so that we come back out on the other side of winter in the spring, that we aren't pulling out our bow and ending up with injuries because I used to pull 45 pounds, so I should be able to pull 45 pounds right now, whatever it is that you're drawing, and end up in a situation where we're putting ourselves out of that season or potentially out for a lifetime. I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna do some follow-up videos. Obviously, like, I've got some room to improve in my own muscular strength, but I'm making a commitment to myself. If you have questions, if you have comments, I always encourage you to subscribe. We're gonna be doing some really fun, cool videos. We actually have a giveaway coming up next week, so make sure that you follow us. It's ROUR period epic EPPICH .life LIFE on Instagram. We're going to be giving away a bow case, one of our hats with our logos. We have a really great partner who's going to throw in some really cool custom accessories. So don't miss out on that. Make sure you're following us. Make sure you're subscribed so you get all the updates. But first of all, the first step is just doing something. Start small. If all you do is plank for 1 minute before you go to bed, pick one of these exercises and do one of them each night right before you go to bed. You're going to be incredibly surprised at how quickly you're going to build that muscular strength and endurance. You might have some really fun visual changes too, which is never a bad thing, right? But I started doing some of these things, and within weeks I was seeing an increase in my strength, in my endurance, in my ability to draw more weight on my bow, and less pain. So I would hope that this helps. Like I said, ask questions. I love feedback, but come follow us, and thank you for watching.